To review this project, this was the floor plan that I ended up with. We are limited by width, as you know, by this bay window. So this 1611 out to out on, and that's on the CMU, that's going to be a little less than that. That allows for everything to clear this bay window, but just barely. So if I make the construction drawings, this number here is going to come down by about 4 inches, because I'm going to pull this one in a couple, which will pull this in a couple. Change a few little things here and there for a little bit more clearance there. Now the patios, this is the total, 1033 of everything shown here. These patios are just a couple different interpretations, and you'll have to have a look at them and maybe get an idea of how you might want those adjusted, particularly if you're going to actually have me dimension those on construction drawings. But these inner ovals are 42 by 84 inch tables, for example. And this outer oval is a 3-foot clearance path around them. So you can see there's a lot of space. And you could probably imagine you lived in the house, but a lot of space. And this is a 20-foot diameter circle here. And finally, the red is your existing paver patio. I've shifted it over so that it's sitting over on this big one. So maybe it's not so big. But that'll be something that you'll have to make a call on, is how much patio you want, or less or more. So yeah, the patio is dimensioned, and I've figured it, all the bearing members have been figured out, depending on which way we go, or which way you go, with a couple of the different alternatives. And then picking up or returning to where I had sent this over to you, showing you all these vertical dimensions. It's a good idea when you finally build this to maintain like 34.5 inches underneath this counter, whatever the counter is, just so that if you or anyone wants to add refrigeration in this space, they can. So the 4'4", that's you're probably going to lose 2 inches, say, on each side of that, just to provide a little bit more clearance back at the box bay window. The chimney is only shown as high as it needs to be to meet code. Your fireplace manufacturer may recommend something taller. I would talk to them. Additionally, I'm showing this fireplace at 23. That's where I started. As I went through the process, this fireplace can be, as long as it's only 36 wide. I mean, you could probably get up to maybe 40 inches wide, but as long as it's 36 inches wide, it can really, I will show you a couple different fireplaces, I think at 32 and 38 inches, and so you can shop fireplaces widely, as long as you keep them to 36 inches wide. Now this you did not see because it was so ugly, and I knew that something was going to have to be done, but you know, and obviously I thought of a taper here, and I just think it's a bit, I mean, it's really, it would, anything would work with this house. There's a lot of different details going on, and but in any case, this was a lot of mass, and something had to be done about that. But this is showing, I mean, even though it looks so tall and massive this way, this is showing, and it's not terrible. So in terms of the columns back at the house, then, after this end is done for a moment, in terms of the columns back at the house, they're just, you know, we can't run these beams back. I don't think it would look right anyway. I mean, I think it would be okay, but to run those into the walls would be pretty extensive. I mean, it can be easily done, but the walls would have to be opened up, etc., and you would have to actually get in behind that fireplace wall, which pretty much makes it a non-starter. But this was the first, or the simplest of them, is to just keep 2 columns, and I actually have these, I believe in this photo, they're actually engaged or against the brick, dying against the brick on both of those. And here, okay, so here they step out maybe 2 or 3 inches, wide enough for a broom. In any case, probably 4 inches, I guess. And here even so maybe it's 2 or 3 inches. These are the single ones. And really, because these just I don't feel them. I think you almost have to go to something like this at that end. And maybe I just haven't thought of it long enough, but that's where I've arrived at this point. And I don't know about this. I think this is safer. And luckily, it is your call as far as those two alternatives go. Oh, and finally, to soften this down some, because nobody's really going to be looking at that rock, and this looks much better. And I like that it provides some extra cover at this end of this structure where these counters are. I think this is really cool. And I think the chimney is 6 foot wide down here, and it's 4 foot wide up here above there. So some rock is saved, and I really like that whole arrangement. There's as I said, there are a number of different things going on the house. So I didn't feel this had to be kept straight to a gable only. And from this side, this is that same projection, or this is that same progression with the two little pillars, and then they are stepping out a little and stepping out. Probably if I was just going to do 2, and still I'm not too sure about that even. And certainly you don't want to come down through the 2 or 3. But anyway, that's the single, and then back to this, and with this. And I mean, this might be, you might like this, and that's fine. I think it looks fine when you look at it this way. It's just that elevation view, it seems a bit ungainly. Yeah, but I liked, and I didn't see, and I'm not sure there was any need to leave all that exposure through there. Again, that would be your call, since this is a little bit faked here because I didn't get rid of that layer of stone, so that siding would go back a little bit further, give that a little bit more depth like these have here. And then the only other thing, wait, what else happened? Oh, then the chimney got slender. And there's that. Without them, I suppose there are potted plants on here when in the seasons they grow, or other sculpture or something. Otherwise, then there are something happening in these corners. Remember, the corner on this side here is the same width as that one, so you could think those things over and let me know, and most importantly, we can let Rich know. Alright, so that was a review of the columns. This brings us to a second section. You can have this, as we talked about, with margin beams and trusses over, as shown. And this is, if the patio slopes out there, I think it has to slope down only 3.5 inches to net you these sorts of dimensions. These are taken from patio level at the front of the hearth. So 8'10" to that ceiling, which is pretty generous. And incidentally, if I didn't mention it, this is shown 23 inches high, this fireplace. I'll be showing you a variety of different height fireplaces. Any height will work as long as you keep it to about 36 and maybe 40-inch max viewing area. The other alternative, because it is possible, is to have that ceiling as a vaulted ceiling with, and I figured out all of these beams on this, in this In this arrangement with the trusses and the two margin beams, you'll need two 11 7/8 LVLs on both sides, on each side. And with this vaulted arrangement, you'll still need the same margin beams, and this will actually be two 11 7/8 LVLs as well if you do this vaulted ceiling. I thought it deserved a review. It lends the house, styling lends itself to it, and why not have a look? And these are the kind of dimensions that you would see under that arrangement. And here, I see there's, this was a 23-inch high viewing fireplace, and this is a 38-inch. So anything between those numbers will work. I don't think 38 is pretty high and a big fire, but there are a number of different sizes out there. So, and from the other end in this vaulted arrangement, which I call file name C, well, the vaulted is B. C is also vaulted, but must do something different. This is B and C vaulted, and this is what it is looking this way toward the house. This is a double beam, not shown, but double beam. It goes into the house, a column comes down, and then Rich would have to install a couple 2x12s above those existing trusses. Just bypass whatever's holding those up over this door. Bypass that and come down on either side. Oh, like this. I didn't realize, just like this. This is that ridge beam coming through, columns down, a couple 2x12s above the existing trusses. And this is the existing framing, and whatever's over that door is its own business. We would just come to either side of that where there's good bearing down to the foundation. Looking at it then with a cut through that same kind of thing, looking at the structure. I'm not sure why I did this. Oh, this was those single columns. This was where they were shown. The blue line is the box bay window here, and you can see the one in the distance as well. And there's so that's how that would set up if these were identical or symmetrical shaped to that. I suppose you could pull this out and pull that column out with it, so there's more bare space behind the column, and the column kind of comes out in front of this bay window. You don't have the bay window at the other end though, so that's probably not a good idea. Whether you have those two columns, those extras, as shown at C, is your call. This is how it looks with the bay this is how it looks with the vaulted ceiling, approximately, and the flat ceiling. Now, I have trouble with lighting on a lower ceiling. At the end, I liked I liked both of the arrangements, so I'm glad that I'm not making the judgment on this. Now I've managed to light this up a little bit better. This one not so much. This is the trussed one, the flat ceiling one, with the 23-inch high fireplace, and see, all the way up to 38 is doable. I mean, you couldn't do a bunch of stonework up here if you were going to have a mantelpiece, but I think, see, 23, 38. Now we're back down. This is about a 30-inch high fireplace and the vaulted ceiling. Again, this isn't just to confuse you, but one or more of these will appeal to you, and you'll build from there. A tall fireplace, tall ceiling. There's nothing that changes here. Okay, and now coming up is I just put some different rock textures on here, and I didn't have them facing the house for a reason. Didn't want to confuse the issue. You'll have a feel for what you want to put on there, and I'm sure it'll look good. But this shows you some of the different impacts of some of the different stone styles or species or whatever they call them. And I didn't pick these entirely at random, but I wanted to show you a couple different styles, I guess. Styles and colors mixed up. I actually like this one. If this I feel like if you contrasted the colors with the ones inside, but I don't know how these river rock ones, how they do corners. So that's probably, maybe this one's not even doable, and you might think it's hideous anyway. This kind of reminds me of what Kevin ran. And I like this horizontal look as well. This is has a good color match to your brick, it would seem. Any of these, or if you tell me another manufacturer's pattern number or color number or whatever they call it, I will try to locate something as similar as possible and give you a representation of that, so at least you can get a feel for that. And here's where you see what I mean. I can like the high ceiling or the low ceiling. I suppose if I was the high ceiling, I like better at the end, but this low ceiling does not bother me at all. And that is the end of the little review. So hopefully this gives you enough to go on and we can get something turned around to Rich. As I said, all of the members have been sized, so it's really just the rock and all that doesn't matter so much. Once you choose really just vaulted ceiling or not, and those extra columns, and unless there's something else that you want me to change. Thanks very much.